What a win from the Yankees, 4-3. And if you're just joining this show, we've been talking for weeks now about the Yankees scoring a ton of runs, but they're scoring a lot of runs from innings 1 through 7. But you get to the 8th, you get to the 9th, when everyone's sweating, the Yankees tend to tense up. They don't necessarily get it done, but Jake, we look up and Jason Dominguez is with the biggest swing of the night. Aaron Judge is coming through in the clutch to tie this game. Cody Bellinger to get this game much closer. I know you were just telling me how after that homer, you thought the Yankees were going to find a way to win. This was a game where I felt the Yankees were outplayed. Obviously, they made a few mistakes in the base pass, but Jacob deGrom was great, and Yarbrough kept them in the game. But anytime you see a pitcher's duel where the guys have it going, you bring in the bullpen, those guys are doing their job, it's going to come down to what type of bats you can swing, what type of at-bats you can have when it really matters. The Yankees are finally doing things at the end of games that equate to winning. I think that's what most of us here were looking for. It wasn't necessarily about the fact that, oh, we lead the AL in runs scored. It's about, if we're in a postseason style game, can we win that game? And people in our chat, and they're brilliant, have been bringing up the stats. Gary, Jake, do you realize that the Yankees are 5-15 in one-run games? We realize all of it because we watch all these games just like you do. But when you see results like this in high-stress games, high stakes, the Yankees did their jobs today.
Yeah, this is one of those games where I feel like, you sound like a broken record saying it, but this is one of those games where you start to feel like the pieces are coming together, right? You have the games where it's like, okay, they're not scoring, and now they're scoring, and okay, their starting pitching is struggling, and now their starting pitching is one of the best in the league, and their bullpen's struggling, and then their bullpen turns into one of the best in the league. Of course, tonight was a little bit different, but this was a big deal because the nature of which they won. They won a game in which they were down 3-2 going into the 8th inning. I thought that was a great bunch of at-bats strung together. Grisham, Goldschmidt, and then, of course, Judge with the single. I was really impressed because it all came down to Jason Dominguez at the end of the night, and he had an Anthony Volpe at bat from a few days ago. We were, saying, oh, Jason Dominguez did the exact inverse of Anthony Volpe's at bat, and then Jason Dominguez goes up 3-0 in the count, and he just swings at 3 pitches outside the zone. They turn him loose. But here's the deal. He wasn't great tonight until he had to be great. And he comes away with the walk-off home run, which I was shocked. And I was just talking to you off air about this. I was shocked to find out that this is the first Yankee walk-off home run in the regular season since 2022, where the Yankees entered the bottom of the 9th against the Pirates at the stadium. Aaron Judge hit his 60th home run. The Yes Network, I just watched it. We're just milking that because they're like, it's 8-5. They're not coming back. So they just kept showing it on a loop. Glaber got on base. Donaldson got on base. Rizzo hit a double. And then Giancarlo Stanton hit the hardest hit home run I think I've ever seen since your father. So
I think it was 118 off the bat. It was ridiculous.
Insane. It was
and
literally
the pitcher
just
was
a
mad.
line.
I'm like, you realize that ball probably just went through a patron's chest, right? Like it was. I actually just watched that homer this morning. So interestingly enough, but Cuzzo with the super, we appreciate a couple of these supers came in the pre-show, and I want to give Cuzzo some credit here because I saw this point made by this individual, and obviously I'm glad he's on the screen. Thank you for the 5. It says playing in the minor league park in Sacramento essentially made Jason Dominguez comfortable. I've seen this point from a few people, but specifically this person. Now he's finally comfortable and arrived along with Rice. He must play. And I think Aaron Boone, because this is the important person in this scenario, is what's he going to do with this information? And we had this conversation about 2 weeks ago that based on what Ben Rice is doing, based on the at-bats you're seeing from your top prospect in Jason Dominguez, these are must plays now. So what are you going to do about it? And we actually saw this past week, Ben Rice somehow, some way was finding himself on the bench against right-handed pitching. Jason Dominguez right now is showing that he can take quality at-bats regardless of who's pitching, and he can be clutch. I want this player playing as much as possible, if not every day. So I agree with this concept that maybe the park had something to do with it because it's odd timing. Jason Dominguez hadn't done really hardly anything before that series with the A's, We go into that park on the road, and it seems like some of our young players taking major steps forward. I don't know if it's the park, but it's an interesting hypothesis.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea. It's not like this, galaxy brain mental gymnastics thing. I mean, this is a real thing. We talk about theories on the show all the time, and our audience has great theories all the time. So we appreciate that. I think it's smart to kind of think outside the box. I mean, maybe when no one's really paying attention, like, hey, the minor league park might have actually done something for Jason Dominguez, because when the ball starts going over the fence, you feel a lot better, and you can kind of string together what we saw with Grisham, what we saw with Rice last year. We also saw the bad part of hitting home runs quickly with Rice. But nonetheless, though, Matthew, thank you for the 10. And, of course, Cuso, thank you for the 5. Matthew has this win, and you actually brought this up before we went live. You're like, I like this a lot. This win feels like a 2017-2009 comeback win, especially with DeGrom pitching. It's coming together. It is. It just is. It's early on the season, but this is when you need to start building your foundation. I can't stress that enough. You could say, and this is where I want to challenge people. How can you say it's too early in the season to talk highly about a team when it's not too early in the season to rule out the Baltimore Orioles? It's no different. If the Orioles are done, then the Yankees definitely are one of the best teams in the league based on the fact that you're taking a 48, 49 game sample size and you're deciding, yeah, this is what they are. And I don't know a single soul out there that thinks the Orioles are going to turn it around. And I don't know too many people that think the Yankees are about to fall off a cliff. So I think it's time to start realizing May matters. We can keep talking about October all we want. It's exactly what I've been saying. It's what you've been saying. October's not here yet. Let's enjoy the season, but also let's not discount the way the Yankees are winning, how many games they've won as of late, the type of teams they're beating, because Texas isn't an easy team. They've gone up against two of their best pitchers, and they're going to be seeing Eovaldi tomorrow as a 1.61 ERA, who might actually be he might be pitching better than the two that we've already seen. Like, the Rangers have the best pitching rotation right now in baseball, ERA-wise. So this is a great test for the Yankees, and if they can sweep this series, regardless if they did or not, they won the series, they continue to beat good teams. That's a really good sign this early in the season.
Yeah, and I would assume, like, when it comes to Eovaldi or you have a DeGrom sighting, essentially, my prediction was that DeGrom was going to be dominant. It's exactly
he really
what you saw.
Yeah.
His stuff was ridiculous tonight. It was 100 located. You saw the at-bats with Judge. I mean, it was a battle. And some of our players were just completely overmatched. You saw Wells get up there. He was clearly guess hitting, and I can't even hardly blame him, right? When you see that type of stuff with that location, there's not much you can do.
So frustrating.
But
though.
what I really care about is, what does it translate? Like, how does this translate into the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning? It's going to be a close game. All of those postseason games, like, how often do you see a playoff game where you just come in, beat the brakes off a pitcher because he doesn't have great stuff, and then just coast with a lead with your bullpen? You don't see that. That's more of a regular season game, and there's still value to doing that, so I don't want to discount it. But the Yankees have to prove they can win games like this. Psychologically, you need to get this Yankees team, especially us as fans, once we get into the position where we can say, you know what, we're down 4-2. This guy gets on base. I think he's going to get on base. I think that guy right there, I can see him coming through. Whether we do or not, if we don't have confidence that this group can come from behind and win a game, you're not winning a World Series. You're not winning a pennant. I think maybe you can win a pennant if everything lines up and you face the perfect matchup. But if you want to go into a series with some of the best teams in this league, you want to play the Padres, you want to play the Dodgers, you want to play Philadelphia, you want to play any of these teams in the World Series, you're going to find games like this where they throw the first punch. You have to be able to have somewhat of a clutch gene, and I'm going to say it anyways, Jake, a pedigree that we believe we can win a game, that we get outplayed. The Yankees didn't have very many hits in this game. Not until like the 7th or 8th inning did the Yankees finally start to actually get comfortable in this game. the Yankees don't normally win these. They just don't. And Alex Reyes, I think he's mentioning the Trent Grisham where he thought he was invisible, headed over to third base.
It's weird because I actually give him credit a little bit.
Did you like it?
Well, he stayed alive long enough for the run to score. That was what I was worried about. Because,
yeah.
I
That's
know.
the least he could do.
I know, but it looked like it was close, man. Like, I didn't,
No, it was close. It was the first thing I thought about.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it would have been much better if you just didn't go over there.
It was funny to watch, though. and then him trying to run. Like, he's a decent athlete, not on the base paths. I think he moves better in the outfield. It was like he was running in cement cleats because, like, he tried to get away from him and just it was not happening.
And Jordan loves the Grisham base running, so he says he won the game. Jordan Richard with the 5. Thank you so much for helping out the channel. Says crazy that the arms we heavily relied on last year, like Hill and Ian Hamilton, are the weakest arms in our bullpen. Grisham base running won us the game. And I can see in the chat, people are very upset about the Knicks. I didn't realize that they choked.
What?
I'm very sorry. Yeah.
They were up by like 20 the last time I checked.
I have no idea what happened. I didn't watch the end of that, but I will say I'm sorry that happened. At least the Yankees walked off. At least there's that.
No,
but Jordan,
it's still going. It's overtime. They're up
okay,
129 to 128.
Okay. They're not dead. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So Jordan is essentially saying that these two arms in Hill and Hamilton, and by the way, we defended Hill, at some point. Okay. Well, he's someone that matchup-wise, you get a lefty, right, tough lefty, maybe you throw the baseball to Hill. He's giving up some hard contact as of late. And I do think when it comes to the bottom of your bullpen, this was a weird day. We used our B arms. Like, other than Loaizaga, we didn't necessarily go to our big guns, and I know it's not like it's Mariano out there, but we hesitated to get to Weaver. We didn't go Cruz, right? There was no Williams. So,
my thoughts on the pitching today. I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, go ahead and share it. Go ahead.
All right. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm coming off as a Debbie Downer. It is what it is. I just have to say this, right? Because we've been pretty positive to this point in the show. We've even made light of the whole Trent Grisham thing. They won, so who cares? If they lost. But anyway, Yarbrough. He had 81 pitches, okay? When you get 8 strikeouts, 3 hits, soft contact, and you're like, yeah, I'm pulling him. I disagreed with that. I thought they should have continued it just like they did with Will Warren. And it does speak volume to where they feel he is. They feel like he's just barely hitting the threshold of being a legitimate starter. And I think they're kind of taking for granted how good this opportunity is to have a guy who is generating soft contact if they do contact him. But today he was missing bats, which he just doesn't do on this clip. I mean, 8 strikeouts in 5 innings. His over-under was like 3.5 strikeouts. So, and I told you not to even touch it because I could see him going over it. I could see him going under it. It was just too tough. Yarbrough, to me, is showing you that he is another Matt Blake project that has gone right. But here's the deal. People are going to compare him to Cody Poteet. I thought he was like Cody Poteet. No, he's more dynamic. He has better stuff, and he misses bats. Poteet would get you through. He'd give you length. He'd give you 5-6 innings. He would hardly give up hits, but he wouldn't strike anybody out. Like, if you need a strikeout, Yarbrough was doing that. And I thought that when you have that arm angle, it's tough on lefty hitters, okay? And they were really struggling with that. But it's also tough on righties because his arm slot is so hard to figure out what he's going to do. And I think he really uses that to his advantage, Gary. And so I just felt like it was a mistake because it's the same analogy like yesterday with the whole Perry analogy. I felt like when they took Yarbrough out, it now bumped everything up an inning. So now Loaizaga coming in way too early. And then now you have to use Hill. Now you have to use Hamilton. It just kind of throws you into flux. And in a game like this, it's wild that, Mark Leiter Jr., that a Devin Williams, that a Fernando Cruz don't pitch because this was a tight game. And at one point, when I saw Ian Hamilton come in, I was like, man, are they punting this game that's right there? It is right in front of us, right? That's what he said. It's right in front of us. Well, when they put in Ian Hamilton, I kind of felt like they were punting the game. I really did not like that move. And then sure enough, he gives up the home run. Ian Hamilton's a guy I've liked for a while, but I'm also in the business of results. And I like Peraza, but like I said, if he's not hitting, that's going to be an issue.
So who would you have gone to? Because obviously you didn't love the options that they came out with, but I'm sure, like, just to kind of tee this up, Boone is probably going to tell you, well, I can't throw my A guys every single game, right? I want to go Leiter Jr., splits against lefties, great. I want to go Williams. Williams has been great for us for the past week and a half. He's been everything that you need. He's missing bats. His command is there. And then Weaver is starting to get back on the horse. So the names that you want out there are obvious. But if the obvious names pitch every single day, eventually those obvious names stop being effective, which is a lot of the conversation we heard last year with Clay Holmes. There were situations where he said early in the season, we're talking about May, and someone's saying, well, Clay Holmes' ERA is 0. Why didn't you bring him into this 2-0 game? It was a game to finish off the sweep. And then we end up blowing the game. And he said, well, I don't want to look up and have him throw 80 innings. So what did you think about that? Because to some degree, the Yankees do have to find some guys like Hill, like Hamilton, like Loaizaga, that step up that you can trust outside of their core little 2-3 guys that you have.
Well, I think the thing that sucked about the Loaizaga outing is I don't think it was bad. I think he got screwed on a few calls that, prolonged the inning. Now, instead of, you might have been able to pitch 2 innings with him. Now you can't even get through 1 because of just the situation that it put him in. He got screwed on that strike 3 call. He got screwed on some other calls that really set him up. He only gave up 1 hit and had a walk, which of course should have been a strikeout. So, I didn't hate the Loaizaga move. I didn't. I just thought it should have been an inning later. I thought I would have gone with Yarbrough for the full inning. I would have gone with Loaizaga. Tim Hill, he's already on the roster. I struggle with Tim Hill. I do, because he gives up hard contact. But the reality is, Gary, he normally doesn't. That's his thing, but he has been. And the thing here that I have is that the last game that we saw, which happened on Tuesday night, which comes after an off day on Monday, the Yankees threw out Mark Leiter Jr., Devin Williams, Ian Hamilton, Luke Weaver. Why is Ian Hamilton going back out then? Why didn't you use Cruz? So Cruz hadn't been used since Sunday, so they could have used him. And then, it made sense to bring in Tim Hill since he wasn't used yesterday. But if we're going with used yesterday, I'm not putting in Hamilton, who gave up 2 earned runs yesterday. Like, why would you put him in? To me, I would have probably gone with Devin Williams again, because the way he's been pitching, you had the off day. He went an inning. It's not like you asked him to go 2. I think he could have done that. But the Ian Hamilton thing, to me, is inexcusable. If they lose this game, I'm absolutely pissed off because
I think
he
Boone's
just hasn't.
I think he's just trying to search for somebody outside of that circle. And anytime he attempts to do it, either the game's close enough where you say, well, why would you give up the game? It feels like a punt. Then if we're in a tie game, why would you bring in somebody that's outside of your circle of trust in a tie game? And then if we're winning, why wouldn't you go to your A guys? Because we have a win right in front of us. So it almost feels like Boone's in this situation where he can't experiment. And we do have to remember it is May. And I don't want to make May baseball games seem unimportant because they are.
Yeah, of course.
But at the same time, Aaron Boone has a ton of jobs. It's not just winning games. It's also, what do you identify? And if you can identify, okay, Hill just doesn't have it. We've attempted this in May, late May. It's not working. He's not missing bats. It's not weak contact. Balls are ending up in the seats. We don't see the command. Okay, let's go down the line. Who else can we trust? Can we trust Loaizaga multi-inning? And you just sort of have to massage your way through the season and say, I can see this guy. I can see this guy in our inner circle. And the longer that list goes, the more we're comfortable with them actually touching a mound. Because I could tell you right now, when I saw Hamilton get out there, I had no confidence whatsoever. Now, mind you, this is ignoring the short-term numbers, the long-term numbers. The stuff's fine. I just personally don't trust him in the game. And I know what they're trying to do. You got the sinker, you got the slider. I understand. I just don't see the results. So I like what Boone's attempting to do. I just don't love it when I see it happening because obviously today's game is the most important. So yeah, and people in the chat are saying that Cruz is not healthy. I didn't see exactly how he was unhealthy.
That. Yeah.
So yeah, if you guys can put in the chat so I can throw somebody up on screen as to what that update is, I missed that. But thank you guys for doing that, by the way, ahead of time. And yeah, if he hasn't pitched since Sunday, you would assume he would be on the mound if he was healthy. So
no, that kind of explains it more. But then you know where I'm going to go with that. If that's the case, then why are you rushing to take Yarbrough out in a game that he has control of?
You know, I think the way the Yankees view Yarbrough is that he's a craft guy, which is true. He's going to yield soft contact, but he can be had a second and third time through the order. I think the Yankees perceive him as not a one-trick pony, but once he's shown you a couple of his tricks, he can't rely on his stuff. He can't miss location. Poor location with Yarbrough a third time through the order is more than likely going to end up in the seats. So I think Boone is wrestling with the idea of, are we getting to the end of the rope here? And sometimes that rope is a little bit longer than maybe he perceives. So I agree with what you're saying. At no point did he show any sign of weakness, but at the same time, if you get 5 strong innings from Yarbrough, I think all of us are saying that's a win. And then you try to stretch it a sixth. You try to stretch it a 6 and he gives up a 2-run jack. I think we're kind of biting ourselves.
I mean, that's fair. And, you know, it is like what I said. I think they told us how they feel about him, essentially. But he also missed 14 bats today. Only Jacob deGrom had more at 20. So it is a reminder, like, Jacob deGrom pitched 2 more innings and only had 6 more swing and misses than Yarbrough.
But Jacob deGrom also has Hall of Fame stuff. It's 99.
No, of course, but I'm just saying,
that's
like,
the problem.
Yarbrough today, he might not have it the next game, but today, I understand, you know, the little nuanced details and all that, but yeah, I think you have to have kind of feel in the moment. And I think you could, it's exactly like I said last night. I think you could have lost the game if you made the wrong decision on Will Warren and they kept him in. And I feel like they could have lost this game when they took Yarbrough out. I felt like that's when all the momentum pitching wise went down the tubes. So, you know, I think the thing is we're really quick in general to be like, yeah, well, Boone said this, or, you know, he has an 80 pitch, you know, limit, but it's like, I need to have more feel, I feel like. And maybe this is a little bit too much of being critical when they won the game, but that was where I was coming from, Gary, where I felt like, you know, he just kind of has it today. No one had any idea on how to attack him. He gave up 1 homer, and it's a pitcher's duel. And he's going head-to-head with Jacob deGrom and looking like he belongs. I would have liked to see him continue because I think he was just really impressive today. That's the best I've ever seen him look.
Yeah, it looks really good. And obviously, everyone has said, and by the way, Ed W, with the update here, I see a couple of people in the chat mentioning that Cruz received scans on a shoulder. And those scans were clean, thankfully. So one would assume that this is all just a matter of comfortability. And that's going to just take some time. I'm sure it'll be day to day. It'll be a thing that we randomly see Cruz back on the mound. But this is probably why Boone was in such a rush to get into his bullpen, because he wants to identify something. You're going to have to find a name out there. And we located 2 or 3 of them last year. Obviously, some of them are no longer on our roster, but the Yankees usually identify 2 or 3 names. You're like, I could see him off this roster. And then next thing you know, you look up, and he's a guy that Matt Blake's willing to toss the ball to in an 8th inning. So I know it looks wonky when you watch it. I guess the Knicks lost or are close to it. That's a bummer. But I'm not too harsh on what Boone did today. I just think with 162, sometimes you're going to get on the mound and you're going to have an option that's not your best guy, but he's still got to be good. And my priority for this Yankees team is what Jason Dominguez exceeded at today. He succeeded in the fact that you get into an at-bat where we need something. We need something. It's not good enough for you to just show you're just getting better as a baseball team, as a player. Sometimes we need some heroic stuff. Sometimes Aaron Judge, you can hit 400 the whole season, accumulation of all your numbers. But what are you going to do for me when I really need a run? Matter of fact, I posted on Twitter and I said, it's time for Aaron Judge. Instead of proving that he's just the best player innings 1 through 8, show me you're also clutch. Show me that. And Aaron Judge comes in, and Jake, you've mentioned his high leverage numbers. I don't know necessarily that I would say I love Aaron Judge in the clutch. I cannot possibly say that, actually. But we get into a situation where we desperately needed a run in a game where runs were hard to come by. He comes through. So I want to give Aaron Judge credit when it's due. Obviously, it's going to be great if he stays healthy, he wins MVP. All this stuff is historic. He'll be a Hall of Famer. But these moments, we need more execution and practice in this stuff, because if we see this, we now have a conversation here for the Yankees being the best team in the American League and having a chance to win something. So a lot of ball game to be played, but the Yankees can't win anything if they don't win games like this. I think this is just great practice.
No, it absolutely is. And I know people are going to criticize this win because the Rangers don't score a lot of runs. Michael Kay brought that up and said that run that they scored, like, that's why it was so important to just get the bat on the ball, get that ground out that DJ LeMahieu did. You score that run, and the Rangers have had 20-plus games where they've only scored 2 runs. So they don't win that way. They win the way of just you don't score, and they dominate you, and they get about 2 runs, and that's how they win. So the Yankees kind of played in their hand today, and a lot of that they knew going in. DeGrom was going to be a pain, and he's done a really nice job of kind of transitioning from, the pitcher he used to be, where he would throw really hard all the time, to he's dialing it up here and there, but he's picking his spots when to, and hopefully that's going to keep him healthy, because baseball is much better when you have pitchers like that are not constantly injured. He's a crazy talent, and he's somebody you're sitting there, even as a Yankee fan, you're like, I just marvel at this dude. Like, I love watching good pitchers. I do. I mean, it's frustrating, but on the same side of it, it's entertainment, and the guy's just really good at what he does. So I appreciate him, and I like that he came back, and, it's not easy. But as far as today's game, I just thought that, this was a huge moment for Jason Dominguez. And for this team, they've just been on an absolute tear as of late. I think, the prompt was, are the Yankees the best team in the league right now? And I would say,
maybe
I don't
Detroit.
I don't know for sure, Gary, but I think they're definitely one of the best. And by one of the best, I'm not saying like 1 out of 7 teams. I'm saying they're probably in the top 3 right now. The Dodgers are banged up. The Yankees beat the Padres in that series. The Yankees beat the Mets. I think the only team that really gave him fits was Detroit. So,
and rightfully so, right? Detroit they can spin it with the best of them. And by the way, any Detroit series, so this is why I put so much emphasis on the offense. I know everyone's like, how long is Yarbrough going to last for us? Stroman's not going to give us anything. Heel hasn't shown he can be healthy. Garrett Cole's out for the season. Isn't there a ton of evidence to say that this Yankees team is going to struggle to get outs? And I said from the very beginning, I easily could have been wrong, but my prediction was that this Yankees team, despite it all, they're not going to struggle to get outs. They just won't. Matt Blake just refuses. So having said that, my priority was offense. What's this Yankees team going to do when you lose Juan Soto? Not talking about drawing walks or trying to hit 41 home runs. I'm not saying trying to replicate what you're actually missing, but in what ways are you worse and in what ways are you better? And we mentioned, fundamentally, you bring in Cody Bellinger, you bring in Goldschmidt. You've got to be better in these certain areas. And this Yankees team, they couldn't hit lefties, and they couldn't score runs in the 8th and 9th inning. They just didn't. And that's why, Jake, you mentioned the stat. It was brought up on Yes. The Yankees haven't hit a walk-off at the stadium, which is ridiculous, since 2022. That is ridiculous. That number is insane to even say out loud, given how many games we've won. Now, I'm not here to complain. I'm here to use this as evidence. This Yankees team doesn't score when you really need them to score. But these last few weeks, the Yankees are. Those series that you're going to see when you see the Detroit's staff, it's going to be 2-0. It's going to be 1-0. And you're going to have to go up against their bullpen with their hand-picked guys, hand-picking matchups, lefty on lefty, forcing you to go to a side that maybe you're not good at, having to bring somebody off the bench for a clutch Raul Ibanez style at bat. Does your team have the guts to win those type of games? And I don't want people to say, let's just wait till October to see what they do, because those groups that didn't get it done in October, you know what they weren't also doing in the regular season? They weren't winning those type of games. They were winning 97 games, which is great, Jake, but you get into some of these games where it's 2-0 and you just feel like they don't have it. There was no magic there. This Yankees team, it was brought up in a super at the very beginning. It feels like they're starting to tap in, not in the midst of, they're tapping into some potential here where maybe there can be some magic at the end of games this year.
Yeah, I mean, that was like, you can build off these wins, and it's funny, you're getting flamed in the comments section. Our member of the channel, Armando Gomez, where else would they hit a walk-off? I'm going to defend Gary here. You got them playing in cornfields, for Christ's sakes. Like, at this point,
I mean, I wasn't actually saying it as a bit of information. I didn't expect them to hit any walk-offs at Fenway.
Yeah.
I understand that you have to play home games, but the point is, we talk about the advantage Yankee Stadium is all the time. We got the short porch. We've got Aaron Judge. We've got Juan Soto. We've got all these great, Giancarlo Stanton. He's incredibly clutch. And we don't have a single home run at the stadium in the 9th inning. That's crazy to me. A home run to win the game, that's 3 years ago. So all I'm saying is it matters that you don't have the magic. If you don't have the magic, you're not going to go on some Cinderella run in October. That's all I'm saying. But right now it seems like we're starting to engage in that type of stuff. It's pretty cool.
No, I agree. And then T-Bone, of course, kind of reiterating what we were talking about. I mean, yeah, like he gets roughed up, and then I also felt that. So, I mean, you have two people that felt like there was kind of a white flag being waved in a game that they end up winning, and they should have won. Well, I mean, I tend to agree with you that there was kind of like an outplay here. I thought the Rangers played really well. There was one that really stood out to me, one comment. Man, I feel for
stinger, by the way. Do you have that bleeder single where the dude just like, I think they called it an impingement. Dude. That had to hurt really bad. That had to be terrible.
It's also, they kept saying how cold it was. And I didn't realize it was that cold. And then it's raining at the end of the game. So I also do want to give some understanding there on some of the, I don't think it's a surprise that all of a sudden the bullpen started giving up some crazy hard contact when it started raining. You know what I mean? Like maybe they're not getting a good grip on the baseball. That does happen. This one right here, I love this comment. I mean, I feel bad, right? But I love this comment. Bro, thank God you guys are still up talking about the Yankees. What I just saw at the Garden crushed my soul. So clearly Adrian was at the Garden and just watched the Knicks blow whatever lead they had. And then the first thing Adrian did was Yankees unloaded. That's a real fan right there.
Yeah, this is therapy. So for those of you who do care about this basketball team, take a load off, right? I don't know. Maybe a tequila water. I don't know. Do your thing.
Hang up the coat.
Yeah. It was a bad day at the Garden. Let's talk Yankees baseball. I think that's so just for updates, if you didn't know, I'm sure you did, 138, 135. Pacers, series not over, long series, 7-game series, Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm sure they'll do fine. It'll be close. But I will say, when it comes to this Yankees team, the conversation is always going to be, who cares? It's May. Doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. But you have to remember what's happening in the inverse of that. Look around. Look at the division. Look at the AL East. You look at the Red Sox. You look at the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays beat the brakes off the Padres today, right? They beat the 14-0.
The Red Sox lost to the Mets, and Juan Soto didn't even swing the bat.
I think he did eventually have a sac fly. He did strike out 3 times, 2 of which were looking, or 3 of them I think were looking, which is
I saw the first one. He just was like this. He wasn't.
You know what? I wasn't gonna bite, but I'll talk about it.
I'll do it.
It's honestly funny what's happening with this player because isn't this exactly what the Yankees were selling him? And let me explain this when I say this. weren't the Yankees essentially saying, yes, you can go be the man with the Mets or any other team, but also you have something to gain by being protected by this player. So don't make it seem like this is some Hamilton play and we're putting you in the background. No, you're still a key cog to all of it, and you're just going to benefit by being alongside this player in Aaron Judge. And what happens? He goes to Citi Field with the Mets, looks, yes, you see it from Retro Tony, says he looks lost. He looks like he doesn't even like baseball. And he also told us, if you were watching, I've been hustling. I'm like, am I looking at Robinson Cano right now? You've been hustling? No, you haven't. And obviously the difference being Cano was performing while doing things like this. When you're not performing and you're hitting ground balls to second base and you cannot possibly muster up enough energy, where both broadcasts, not just Mike, not just the ESPN, it was literally both broadcasts. Everyone's like, oh, the Mets, Citi Field, right? Everything they've got going, they're covering it just like we are. Everyone's acting like Yankees fans are running with this storyline. No, Juan Soto is on pace to hit 30 homers, drive in like 85, 84 runs. It's bad. He looks terrible. And I know this. I know it's going to improve at some point.
Yeah, I know it will.
When people pay you $700 plus, almost $800 million, the absolute least you can do is try at what you do. So all the power to him. People asked me today, I actually saw it a lot in my DMs. People are like, are you glad you lost out on this Juan Soto thing? And I always still say I'm not sure. I don't know. But I will say I'm certainly glad of the players that ended up choosing the Yankees, because some of those players, I never have to question their effort. Remember last year we were talking about Gleyber Torres? Why is it Gleyber Torres running down the line? Why
Alex
is this
Verdugo,
happening?
when he was walking and Boone took him out of the game.
He was walking. Mind you, at the time, Gleyber Torres and Verdugo were our two worst players. Just here to remind you, our two worst players. The least you can do when you're not performing is try. That's all I'm saying. So, good riddance. I've never said anything bad about Juan Soto since, but I don't want that type of person, that type of effort around this organization, because we've seen, especially with guys like Jason Dominguez, guys like Austin Wells, you want your young players around high effort, key performers, and he's just not that.
Well, my dad said this, and I get what he was saying. It's not all Mets fans that feel this way, but it felt like it was more so dunking on the Yankees than anything. Like they wanted Juan Soto more just because they wanted to say they took him from the Yankees than actually having Juan Soto. And that's I think fair. To a degree, I've seen that. I've actually seen that from Mets fans. Now that he's a Met, it's kind of this reverse, like, oh, he's a terrible contract, and you got Frank the Tank talking about it constantly, how he's the worst thing ever, and he wanted him so badly when they got him. But it's just it is funny to watch these people with the switch up. And to be fair, I did the switch up, but this is what I would say about that, and then we'll move on to something else. But this is what I would say about that, Gary, is that when I said that I would take this over having Juan Soto, because I wouldn't want to give up Max Fried. If you asked me when they lost Juan Soto, if I would have rather had Juan Soto, yes, I would have rather had Juan Soto. But when you already have the results in front of you and you have something to kind of go by, I'm thinking you snap your fingers like Thanos and everybody's obsolete. Now Juan Soto's back in pinstripes. I think the Yankees are a worse team. I do. You don't have Max Fried.
Most people agree with that, right? I mean, yeah. You just kind of assume, because you actually texted me this morning and we're like, I really would have loved if Bregman was part of this team. And I totally understand where you're coming from. You want as much talent as possible, especially given what else we have.
But I'm like annoyed how much I wanted Bregman, because I didn't initially.
Right, but we don't have him because of a budget. It's as simple as that. I don't care what the Yankees tell you, because they say this all the time. They say, well, no matter how good our team is and what we're spending currently, if there's a player out there we have to have, we'll make sure we go get them. We're going to turn over every stone to make sure that player is in pinstripes, as long as it fits. But you know what fitting means? Fitting means it fits with our current budget. That's what it means. So once we lost Soto, they turned around and were like, okay, we're going to send Poteet. It's not like Poteet and Bellinger is equal value, but the Cubs perceived it as we're going to trade for Kyle Tucker. So we'll get rid of this player. We don't want this $25 million because we're paying Tucker this big arbitration number, and then we maybe are extending him next offseason. So the Yankees said we'll take the $25 million plus the player option. You bring in Goldschmidt. You bring in Fried at over $200 million. None of this happens. Maybe Goldschmidt happens on a 1-year deal.
That's the only one I think happens.
It's the only one that happens. So you have to ask yourself, with the context of knowing we're going to lose Garrett Cole, if we had no Max Fried, but we had this fill in the blank, another great offensive player who's a bad defender, would this Yankees team be in the situation they're in now? Probably not. They're probably not in this position, or in my opinion, anywhere close to it. So it's interesting because you didn't get the best player, obviously, but they made 3 or 4 moves with the budget that they had that suddenly now makes them a better team in the short term. So I think that's interesting. And most importantly here, before we get to the super about Elon Musk, it allows the Yankees to be flexible long term, which I hate even suggesting because they still have to land somebody. They'll tell us, oh, this sets us up for next year. Go get the player, and then we'll get excited about it. So, but Mark with the super. Mark, thank you for the 10. Says, call Elon Musk, call Space Force, call in the guard. There is an alien amongst us. We are not worthy. The Martian has arrived. Well, I don't necessarily know if Jason Dominguez has arrived yet because there's still some swing and miss in his game that I think will dissipate. It won't disappear. He's not just going to turn into Tony Gwynn overnight, but there's certain areas where he gets outside of himself. I'm not saying he's trying to play the power game, but one day you're raving about the at-bats that Dominguez had, and he shows his honestly staggering plate discipline. And then you'll turn him on the next day and you're like, I didn't really recognize him. But then a couple days later, he shows you again. I think this is all just part of the learning experience. We'll know when the Martians arrive, but we needed him today. We don't win this game without Jason Dominguez, so good for him.
Yeah, no, Jason Dominguez, he hits the ball really hard, okay? His savant page doesn't look amazing. There's a lot of blue. He's still a young player, but the base running is in the 89th percentile. The hard hit percentage, 52.8% of the time, Gary. 52.8% of the time he has a hard hit ball. His bat speed is in the 70th percentile. Walk percentage is 85th percentile. And then you have arm strength at 88th percentile. And you have sprint speed at 83rd percentile. So this is a player that, yes, there's a lot of blue there. There's a lot of things that he needs to work on. But there are a lot of good things that you can build off. And I just think when you look at this player, at some point he is going to catch fire, because we can say he's arrived. I mean, of course, the walk-off home run was great, and we saw, the 2 home runs that one game, but he hasn't. I wouldn't say he's arrived yet, because I think that would be disrespectful to Jason Dominguez. I think we need to wait for him to really emerge. And when he does, I think he's going to shoot out of a cannon. I think you'll know it, because right now, a 953 OPS, we were talking about him arriving in 31 at bats when he had a 980 OPS. So
that's
obviously
the player we're hoping to see.
Yes. And if the Yankees do end up getting that player, and keep in mind, this guy has had to have some surgeries. He's dealt with some injuries, the lats, he had Tommy John surgery, right? I'm pretty sure, on the UCL.
He did. Jason Dominguez had Tommy John surgery, which was a shock. Every once in a while you see that. You saw it from Bryce Harper, and then he moved. They were concerned with the arm strength. They moved him to first base. It obviously worked out long term, but that was weird. That was wild that we saw that.
Yeah, it's weird.
And by the way, speaking of arriving with this super chat, I think I can find you and locate a player who has arrived.
Oh, yes.
And that is Cody Bellinger. And in Golden Spation, thank you for the information. Thank you for the 2. Says Cody is batting .354 with basically, I'm assuming 1,000 ops in May so far. So obviously in our chat, and I see the chats, we see people saying they need to address third and shortstop, and I don't really agree with shortstop because there's not going to be any great options out there for the Yankees at short.
Yeah.
But third base, I would agree with that. But I'll say this. The Yankees need to dominate and figure out where they put the guys they've got. And Jake, you've mentioned this yesterday. They've got to figure out where to put their best bats because some of them are stacked up on top of each other, which technically speaking means you have a lot of depth at a position, but occasionally you'll run into a bat. And obviously you know where I'm going with this. It's Ben Rice, you got Cody Bellinger, you got Grisham, you got Dominguez, you got Judge. There's so many guys on this roster where you can say he has a justified, there's justification to put him on the field. There just is. I want him on the field, but no one has a definitive answer as to how they go about doing that. Cody Bellinger right now, and Golden Spatian brings up the number beautifully, and I said this while he was struggling. Cody Bellinger is going to be great. I have no problem with Bellinger, and yes, would we like to pay him less than $25 million to do it? Sure, but it's not our money. So now that he's playing well, do we now care he's making $25 million? No. Do we now care that he has a player option next year that we're very likely going to be on the hook for? No. Cody Bellinger, in the way he's playing, is a pencil in. He's too dynamic. He's got power. You've seen it. You saw it just the other day. You saw it today. He's got the glove. He can track down a fly ball with the best of them. Good conditions, bad conditions, doesn't matter. He's a good communicator. He's a great base runner. He's athletic. He can move to first. He can play left if you need him to. Cody Bellinger is the second best player on this team. So I understand what analytics say. You look up Baseball Savant, it's going to be a lot of blue for Bellinger. That's why, guys, he didn't get this $400 million deal after what he did after being traded with the Cubs. Everyone looked at him and said, this exit velocity doesn't translate into the new school baseball game. And you know what the Yankees said? We want that player. That guy who hit over 300, we want that guy. That guy who can play multiple positions, there's value to that. We did the exact same thing with DJ LeMahieu from Colorado. We did. And everyone else said, what are the Yankees doing? This is not where baseball's going. And yet, here we stand, May 21st, where everyone's saying, oh, look at the Yankees. We would have loved to have this player. So Cody Bellinger has arrived. I can finally say it.
It is funny. Like, you look at his, and as you know, I'm becoming a huge, I'm like obsessed with exit velo. Of course, within reason. Like, if you're hitting the ball hard, but like your at bats suck, like you just, and you're always out, like, okay, at some point or another, like.
So you're Evan Gattis, essentially.
But
Sorry,
no,
Evan.
like, but no, Bellinger's funny because he only has like above 100 exit velo if it's a home run. That's how you know it's a home run every time. Like, if it's like, oh yeah, exit velo is 100, boom, home run. I'm still impressed with the way DJ LeMahieu, the ball's coming off the bat. This is not what we saw last year. DJ LeMahieu had another 100-mile-an-hour off the bat. What is this? I don't even remember him doing that when he was at his best. He's hitting the ball really hard. And I had somebody yesterday, and I know I forget who it was, and it's not that I am trying to like crap all over the take, but I remember seeing it was, well, a lot of the exit velocity is based on the pitcher. I disagree. I watched Aaron Judge hit an 89-mile-an-hour curve out of the park, and he hit it like 117 off the bat. It's a combination of, well, you know, where you hit it on the bat, because if you hit it off the end of the bat, it's not going to go as hard. And at the same time, you also have to have a good swing speed. Cody Bellinger doesn't swing that fast. It looks fast, right? It looks aggressive, but if you compare him to the rest of the league, it's pretty average to even below average. Aaron Judge swings the bat 80 miles an hour. He swings it 10 miles an hour more than I would say the average swing.
Helps being 6'7", 280 pounds, right?
Yeah. By the way,
pretty crazy.
Aaron Judge, 114, 112, 107. I mean, he's just an alien.
But also, isn't
really
exit velocity also a product of how well you put the ball on the barrel, right?
Yes.
You can talk about You can talk
I
about
think it
torpedo
says
bats, whatever it is.
hitting
If
mechanics.
If you can't square the ball up consistently, your exit velocity is not going to be good. You're going to hit the ball on the end of the bat. You're going to hit it on the label. And maybe you're going to run into the barrel and it ends up in the seats. But the average of what you do, your velocity is not going to be there. So I found that interesting. And Slim Lewis with the 5. Thank you. Slim with the 5.
You.
Thank you for doing that. And he disagrees. He believes Paul Goldschmidt is the second best player on the Yankees, and I don't have a problem with this at all. He said the best ability is availability, and Cody gets injured too often and won't be 100% for half the season. Now, of course, Jake, he's mentioning the fact that Paul Goldschmidt has never had a problem staying on the field. That absolutely is part of this job. Whether people like it or not, getting hurt or staying healthy, it's not just, this isn't the casino at a slot machine. That's not how health works. Players that got hurt last year, they have an increased chance of getting hurt the following year and the next year. This is why you see players like Mike Trout who had their first big injury and all of a sudden it just piles up on top of each other. Giancarlo Stanton's another guy where injuries were never a problem. We saw him go down once, and next thing you know, Jake, it's been a problem ever since. Paul Goldschmidt is available. That's incredibly valuable for this Yankees team. And I want to say one thing to defend, and then I'll kick it off to you. My Cody Bellinger take about being the second best player is that it's not just about batting average and slugging, but it's also about what happens if somebody goes down. What happens if Jason Dominguez goes down for a week and a half? Well, Cody Bellinger can slot into the most demanding defensive position in left field. He's the guy you like out there anyways. You can put him there. What happens if Paul Goldschmidt, we hope this doesn't happen, has a back flare-up and can't play for 2 or 3 weeks? A lot of people would say, well, Ben Rice can go play over there. Well, Cody Bellinger can also do the same thing. Ben Rice can DH for you and not have it be a problem. So the versatility I believe that Cody Bellinger provides is why I think he's as good as I think he is. So said the same thing about DJ LeMahieu. It's crazy. DJ can play third. He can play second. He can play anywhere. So love it. I'm shocked that I'm even seeing this on my screen, Slim, that anybody is saying Paul Goldschmidt is the second best player in the Yankees, because if they did, I would assume this season was a wash. But I've seen crazier things, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out well for the Yankees so far, so we'll see if they keep it up. I think next thing up that I really want to see from this team is those two, relief pitchers. I think I'd be shopping for another one at least. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I know Jake Cousins is dealing with something. I think he had a setback or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if they give him another crack. The guy from the Cubs years ago, Scott Efros, wouldn't be surprised if they give him another shot. He just finished all his rehab. He was supposed to make the team. Now he's in AAA. And I believe I saw Hamilton has an option. They could use Hamilton's option, send him to AAA, call up somebody like an Efros. And let's not forget, by the way, a guy that you and I both like, Clayton Beeter. He's back. So he went from pitching one game, the first game of the year, closing it out, last 3 pitches of the game against the Astros to open up the season last year, to never pitching again. So I'd like to see him get a crack for once. But point being is, I think that's really my focus. And third base, of course. And I think really, I'm going to say it right now. You got the Rangers tomorrow at 12:35 Eastern time, stupid start time.
No.
I know. That wasn't, it was supposed to be an intro into what I was saying, and then I realized, wait, I'm breaking news, and this is not good for Gary.
Oh, are you kidding me? Is this because of weather?
No, this was always scheduled. I don't know why it's 12:30. 12:35 is insane. Yeah, we're gonna schedule something so nobody at work can watch it. I don't get that. And this is coming from somebody unbiased here. I work from home. I set my own hours, and I still find it repulsive because I'm thinking of other people, not just myself. So, yeah, I hate that. But the point I was bringing up, Gary, like I said last night, hear me out. Playing Ben Rice at third, this is the series to do it against the 8-win Rockies. There's never been a better time to try out Ben Rice at third than against the Colorado Rockies. I'm sorry.
I think you could throw me at third. I could just be like... It's honestly, if we don't sweep this Rockies team, and we really struggled, I want to put some emphasis on this because you mentioned Colorado.
Yeah.
Colorado is absolute butt cheeks. They're horrible. The whole organization, they should just move them to Ontario, Orlando, any other O. They're horrible.
Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi. Send these guys packing. The Yankees, in all seriousness, need to take care of business. You see an inferior team, and I don't want to talk too much about them just because we're not there yet. We have a good Texas team who's kind of underperforming, especially offensively. We need to take care of business here. You take care of business in this Texas series, you should be going into that Colorado series. In Colorado, we're looking to pad some numbers. We're looking to look back at the Boston Red Sox and the Blue Jays and say, where are you guys at? 8 games back, 7.5 games back. And I see it already. People are talking about
Timu. DV8 is not getting over what you said about Timu.
Wait, where's the Timu? Because I want to read the super chat after, but the fact that anyone dropped a perfect, let's go. DV8, that's excellent.
Yes.
I mentioned Timu
he's the one that,
episode.
He's the one that highlighted that. You're like, oh yeah, I'll be watching it on Timu. Because remember, I was reading it off, and you're like, streamies, Timu.
Yeah, so great job right there. I'm glad some people are paying attention. That's awesome. And Ed W, as always, thank you for the support. Thank you for the 5. Says, oh, interesting. He was at the stadium last night, and Rice's barrel was nuts. Wow. Says, massive sound and 3/4 over 100. I'm assuming 100 miles an hour. His Savant page is crazy. Wonder when it'll translate to more. Now, mind you, as of now, we're getting a 250, which, by the way, in today's game, a guy who hits 250 with pop walks, you're going to look up and his ops and his production in general is going to be there. That's what we're looking for. Now, the last step, obviously, we're probably going to see it full force next year, is what it looks like when Ben Rice plays every single day. Ben Rice, technically, if they don't bring back Goldschmidt, will be a shoo-in in the lineup. He knows he's going to be hitting in the center of the lineup. He understands that. He's got clear table setters in front of him, and Aaron Judge is the best player on the planet, and he'll benefit from it. So, Ed, just to answer your question here, when will it translate to more? I think when the Yankees give him more apple to bite. That's what I think. And I think right now, given the lineup constraints for him, the Yankees are kind of tied up. What do we do at DH? What do we do at first base? And there's just not a lot of spots for guys to play. So that's where I think your answer resides. I think 2026, you see what Ben Rice really looks like.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. I don't know how you can't be. Newsflash, the red means good. so
he got good.
He got good. You know who else got good? I guess this is going to be a little segment here. Mark Leiter Jr. Have you seen his?
I haven't seen it. No.
It's literally just all red.
Oh, by the way, I feel like this is important because last year it was irrelevant. So this is why I bring it up.
Yeah.
When you look at expected batting average, right? Off of an arm. And Mark Leiter Jr., you obviously see that number. It's up towards the top, but it's in red and it's in the 70s. So this is a good thing. The expected batting average off of a pitch that is delivered by Mark Leiter Jr. is low. So you expect to get results. Well, what matters with expected batting average? Your defense. What's the Yankees defense doing this year? There's no Gleyber Torres, right? There is no Verdugo out in left field. There's none of that. And I understand that Verdugo's not technically a bad fielder. He just had somewhat of a down year last year. But in general, we talked to Rizzo wasn't a good defender last year. He just wasn't. So I guess my whole point here, when you look at these analytics, they matter to some degree because you can find out a pitcher's value. But does it really matter that a guy's expected batting average off of his arm is low if the guys behind him cannot, they just don't have the skill set to make the plays? The Yankees seem to be making the plays. Double plays are being turned. Guys are communicating, making adjustments in the outfield. I like what I see. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy about this. And I do see people in the chat. It's really, I can't say it's upsetting, but it's wild. Our fan base is insane. People are like, oh, flip Will Warren for
What?
They're already ready. Yeah. And I understand it, technically speaking, because I'm going to throw up it on the screen. I get it. Warren's value is at its highest point. Heel's going to come back. But do I trade a young, controllable asset that's showing the flair to strike out 8 to 10 guys every time he touches the mound with one of the most devastating sweepers we've seen in years? No. Like, I get it. I get it. You maybe you can fill in third base with a surplus that you have down the road. I understand the concept, but I'm never doing this. I would not trade Will Warren. It's just not happening. No.
Yeah, no. This is interesting because I don't think we've gone over the Savant page for some of the best, Yankee pitchers, but look at that fastball run values 14. It's literally the best in the league. Max Fried.
So he has the best fastball in Major League. And obviously this isn't just about velocity. This is a concept of movement, spin, velocity. Yeah, efficiency. Do you throw strikes? Is it a pitch you can rely on late in the count? He has the best fastball in the game. And obviously you saw what that breaking ball did to our favorite player in Juan Soto. Made him look like an absolute... The dude was a spectator.
A lemon? Yeah, spectator.
He was a spectator.
He was a GTA paid background actor.
Yeah, so if your defense is great, which our defense, by the way, is underrated. People think our defense is bad or just mediocre because of, right, like what we did last year, and that's justifiable. I get it. You watch the World Series, you just make the assumption this Yankees defense sucks. They must be horrible. But if you really peel it back and look at the numbers and use your eye test as well, the Yankees do make plays. They do.
Yeah. I think the big thing when I'm looking at Savant pages for starters, they normally don't blow up the screen. It's normally the relievers that have kind of the crazy stuff that you see.
Yeah, and that's understandable. They're throwing for literally one inning. And by the way,
Fernando
Ed W.
Cruz.
with Fernando Cruz, good Lord. Ed W. with a really super important piece of data and a very important question, I would add. Ed W. says, will Gary wear the paper bag again for the Rockies loss? We've come a long way.
I think you'd have to... They'd have to get swept.
Yeah, I'll do something. If we get swept by the Rockies, and if we get swept by the Rockies, we will never hear the end of it.
Yeah.
And that's justifiable. That Rockies team, they should not beat anybody, let alone a team that thinks they're going somewhere. So, yeah, I would hope I'm never going to see that paper bag again, Ed. So, I'm going to try and keep the positivity.
Someone asked for Marcus Stroman, so I had to throw it up there.
Can you believe he's making $18.5 million this year? And mind you, that's generational wealth. And obviously, if he heard this, he'd be like, who are you to say, bro, I was good 4 years ago? Well, bro, it's not 4 years ago. It is now. And this is insane. This is like an ice age.
I'm just going to say right now, ice age. I'm going to say right now, if I had one of those buttons, like just, the sample audio, I'd be like, I'm a starter, I'm a starter, I'm a starter, I'm a starter.
It is honestly, I wish I had his audacity. Like, can you imagine if he had an Indeed page and he just screenshot this Baseball Savant?
Oh my God.
Bro would never get a call.
Holy. Ever. This is what I'm talking about, though. Like, the relievers typically have this. Like, what's another good one? What's Devin Williams like?
I'm impressed by that Savant page from Luke Weaver because he also goes multi-inning. Any pitcher that goes multi-inning and you see these type of numbers, that's
just ridiculous. So his expected batting average is literally in the 100th percentile among all pitchers.
So as far as who can I possibly see on the mound, there's no player that could possibly pitch where you would have less success than against Luke Weaver.
And Devin Williams has some good stuff too. This is not bad considering how bad it started. So now I'm curious. Where are we at on Ian Hamilton?
No, I'm assuming it'll be some red. Yeah, Ian Hamilton, he's like an athletic trainer out there. Like, he's going to have nasty stuff, but it just finds a barrel. I'm not for it.
Tim Hill does not have, there's no way. All right, let's predict. Tim Hill is probably going to have ground ball percentage in like the dark red.
His whiff rate should be 2.
Yeah, his whiff rate will be 2. He's going to have average exit velocity is interesting because when he's pitching well, that should be like 1. But all right, let's see. Ground ball percentage 99%.
Wait, whiff rate, is it 5? Is that what that says?
5.
Yeah. So I was off by 3.
It's better than I thought. No, who's another one? Was it in the bullpen?
Well, I mean,
Yeri.
You already pulled up Leiter Jr., you pulled up Weaver. There you go.
Yeah, Yeri's another ground ball pitcher. Okay. Now let's just have some fun. The gold standard.
Please. Mason Miller's thing is going to be just slammed all the way to the right. Please, man. If there's any player in baseball that I would just love for the Yankees to trade for, it'd be this guy. I don't give a damn what's on the market, who's available.
Percentile K percentage.
I don't know if you guys know.
He strikes you out 47% of the time.
I watched a game the other day, right? This is maybe 3 days ago. I text you, Jake, so obviously this isn't news to you, but it will be news to a lot of people who don't watch the A's play, and I do not blame you. He was sitting 104 miles an hour at the bullpen.
It's just insane.
How?
Well, his average fastball is 100.7. That's his default fastball.
Alex says if the Yanks lose to the Rockies, Gary's going to bust out the Five Guys Cajun fry grease and drenched paper bag. Oh, yeah. I was at Five Guys literally 2 days ago.
DeGrom's
threw away
filthy.
the bag, so I'll have to go again. But yeah, if you do strike out 47% of hitters, I think that's what you're looking for.
Yeah. DeGrom's filthy, by the way. This is unreal.
Yeah, when I
pitch
saw
run
that at
value,
bat, by the way,
100th percentile.
today, between DeGrom and Judge, I was impressed, by the way, with the at-bats of Judge, because sometimes, and we've said this many times, great pitching beats great hitting. It just does.
This is ridiculous.
What, Paul Skeens?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm not going to mention his name because he's just the worst reporter that's ever lived. But he mentioned today, the guy who will remain nameless, said that Paul Skeens will not be traded. No way, no how. Which is understandable given the fact that the Pirates love to lose baseball games, draft generationally great players, have no business having them, and then trading them when they approach arbitration. So essentially, we're prisoners of war. We're just going to wait around and watch this guy dominate until he's an arbitration winner, I guess, if you will. He'll be making like $40 million a year in arbitration, which is, he's going to set a record, no questions asked. And the Pirates are going to want no part of that number. So what's going to happen? He's going to be traded in the offseason, not the deadline, in the offseason, where all 29 other teams can line up with their best prospects and also who's willing to spend that type of money. And I sure hope it's the Yankees. I do.
Yeah, I'm not confident. I'll just tell you that. I'm not confident that he is going to, yeah. I don't think the Yankees are going to get him. The interesting one, I've seen people kind of, bite back on Kyle Tucker saying he's not worth $500 million. I disagree just because that's the going rate in 2026. You know what I mean?
Quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, do you really think that the 49ers want to pay a player that none of us think is a great player $50+ million next year? No, they don't. But they also know if they don't pay Brock Purdy $54 million a year, he'll just go get it from somebody else. So you're literally forced. So if you want talent like Kyle Tucker, and by the way, guys, this sport does not have a salary cap, and we keep trying to mention that. So that seems pretty good.
Yeah, that's Juan Soto.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing that. But yeah.
Well, these numbers suggest it is wow, his fielding run value is fourth percentile.
Yeah, what was it last year? Okay.
It definitely wasn't that bad. He was in a short right field. He's probably league average, I'd assume.
Okay, shot up in 2021. Oh my God, 1 percentile in 2022.
Yeah, people say, well, we have a luxury tax. Who cares? Who cares? I mean, do we really care what the owner pays in tax? I don't.
Oh my God. That was the Yankees, by the way.
Yeah, so he was closer to league average defensively. So he benefited from playing in the short porch. It's an easier defensive assignment. Couldn't base run a lick, but that's not why
Yeah.
he was out there.
Damn.
Yeah, essentially what we're doing now with baseball free agents is everyone just says, no player's worth that. No player's worth that. And then they say, well, I'm only comfortable going up to $300 million. Okay, great. That's good if you're trying to sign a player from 2018. But as the market continues to go up, what happens if the best player that's a free agent, every single year, the going rate is now, I want $500 million. I'm not going to get $700 like Ohtani or Soto, but yeah, I want that 14-year whatever deal. You have to do it or you never get the player. So people say, well, and I see it in the chat already, I'll give Tucker $400 million. Okay, good. You'll give them an amount of money that technically you didn't spend a dime because one other team was like, I will give way more than that. I'll give $100 million more than what you'd be willing to get. And guess what?
The Mets are going after him. There's no doubt about it.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you don't give the best offer, you never get the player. So if you're not willing to go up for what Tucker is going to demand, then you might as well tell us you're not even interested in Tucker. That's like me going to Lamborghini and walking around like a Murcielago and being like, man, I sure would love this car. I'll give you $90K for it. They wouldn't even run my credit. They would
Imagine
just
not
laugh in your
wanting
face.
this player. His fielding's down, though. That's not normal. But anyway, he's he's really good at playing baseball. He's got a 939 OPS a year after having a 993 and an 886 before. So like
he'll finish at 1,000, by the way. That's not like a
Probably,
that's not
yeah.
a spike. He's actually playing worse this last 2 weeks to drop to those numbers. So I understand, technically speaking, guys, and this is understandable. No matter what player you're talking about, and you see this with Golden Space, and I want to throw it up on screen. He says, thank you for the 2 golden. Says Judge making $360 million is such a steal of a contract. It is. And at some point, you also have to remember the big number that you see, the $360 million, that number is meant to scare fans. That's why it's so public now. It used to not be this way, but now that contracts have swelled, if you look at a guy like, I don't know, you look at a Bryce Harper and you think, oh, well, he makes $330 million. That's a lot of money. But what they don't tell you is that deal stretched out over 13 years. So that number is really the exact same amount of money we're paying Cody Bellinger. They don't ever say that. They never talk about what a player makes per year. They always talk about Ohtani, $700 million. They don't talk about what the Dodgers pay him per year. Why? Because it doesn't seem as impressive. It doesn't seem that crazy that Ohtani makes $6 or $7 million more than a Garrett Cole per year. Now it seems like the Dodgers are getting a deal. They're going to make all that money back. So I don't want anyone to feel like, regardless of the player, whether it was Harper, whether it was Machado, whether it's Soto, Judge, all these players return their value. They do, for the most part, especially if you're signing the top of the game. Now, if you sign a Rendon, then that's on you. Like you give him $245 million to stink and not even like baseball. Yeah,
oh my God,
it's a waste of money. So, but I agree. Aaron Judge, at the number we're paying him $40 million a year. To say he's well worth the contract, I mean,
yeah,
we always knew that was
also
gonna be the case.
The defense. I mean, so you're telling me now he's an 83rd percentile right fielder?
We said this last year too.
I know.
Like we hate which they had to put him in center field just for the simple fact of Soto was going to have to play left field if not.
Watch the evolution. Oh yeah, 2017. He's just amazing. They didn't have bat speed in those until I think later on.
I'm going to guess he's like 43rd percentile in fielding value in 2024.
43. Okay. I would probably say that. Yeah, that's about right.
Just slightly below average is my guess in center field.
25.
Nope.
Now he's 83. I think Judge is playing with a chip on his shoulder. I'm not going to lie. Like, oh, yeah, Soto, you left. 83rd percentile fielder. He's never been that. We just looked.
I don't think he has a chip on his shoulder. I think in general, it's this
in the
started
field. I do.
You think he has a chip on his shoulder with his glove?
Yeah. I always
I don't
felt
think
like he was
I don't think
underrated.
he gives a rat's behind. I really don't.
I mean, that's certainly possible, but I feel like there have been times where like you can kind of hear him and maybe he's not trying to be a jerk about it, but he'd be like when he shut it down, like, okay, Soto's not part of the team, whatever. Like, you know, he was like, I want to talk about this team. And I don't blame him, but I do. I think, I mean,
seems like Forrest Gump to me. Like, I feel like his girlfriend just kind of meandered off, and then what did she do in the movie? She got what, like AIDS? Can't remember.
That's brutal, but yeah.
Yeah, it is, but it's exactly what happened. So I think Judge just knows. You tried to level up on me. You got this big contract, and I'm the better player. It's not even negotiable. So
yeah,
enjoy that. And then I'll just continue doing this. And then now when a player like Kyle Tucker becomes a free agent, or any other player that any of you guys are interested in, those players are going to have to think twice. Do I want to go play with this other team, or do I want to benefit off of big number 99? I think the choice now going forward should be clear. I think Judge has sent the message.
No, I agree. I'm excited because if Judge is already playing this well in the field, and you already have the bat, like, there's no argument who the best player in baseball is. Just none.
No, not now. No,
so,
God, no.
Yeah, I mean, when Ohtani is top 5 in pitching, that's a different story. But when Ohtani's not fielding and he's not pitching, he's the second best hitter in the league, but he's not better than Judge.
We'll see what Matt Blake can do. I bet you he can get Judge to pitch.
You know, Judge was a pitcher, right?
I didn't know that, no.
You didn't? Yeah, he was a pitcher. I know he hit, obviously, but he also pitched. And I think he had an injury where he stopped pitching altogether. And
Okay,
really,
well,
if
it
I'm
seemed to
being
work out.
honest, being entirely honest with you, I think it's a mistake to let Ohtani pitch. Because if he gets injured, you don't have him as a pitcher or a hitter. And the batting is the most important. And I think
Well,
you're
they
already...
hit him last year when he was hurt. He got Tommy John. He just hit anyway.
I know, but I would probably be trying to prolong a guy's career. Like, it's the same thing with playing Judge at first. I'm not playing him at first for anything other than the fact I'm trying to prolong his career. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
So, Jordan,
Yeah.
appreciate the 5. Having Goldie at first makes our defense 10 times better than last year. He has saved so many throws from all of our infielders. Like, it's a joy to watch. I agree. I definitely agree. And that was what Rizzo was. And then Rizzo had a couple injuries that kind of, you know, forced him to hit a wall earlier than, you know, maybe they anticipated. And yeah, now you have the defense and you have the bat.
Hit a
The
wall.
best-
He was a crash test dummy. He was off
I
a
was
cliff.
I wanted to be nice about it. Good Lord. You're like, yeah,
I
he
felt
was
like
a
I
crash
was nice,
test
but I
dummy.
mean, he was. We none of us saw that coming. You get hurt, and obviously a lot of it wasn't his fault. He had a concussion. and
Well,
we were
that
playing.
base running incident too. He was hitting well, and then he was going to first, and maybe that's my theory. They won't play Judge at first until they have the 2 base thing. Then maybe they would consider it. But all right, guys, let's Gary. We swept the picks today. Swept. We were really
That's
good.
the first time we've ever swept. We've done well, never that well.
Thanks to Jason Dominguez, of course, because it was
Yeah, that
looking
was a
a little. It was a sweat show there, but no. First one, Cody Bellinger just needed to get a hit. He got it in the first at bat, easy. The under 1 through 5 innings, easy. We stayed away from the strikeouts. I think you wanted to go with, or maybe you did end
I
up
did.
going.
Yeah, I wanted to go the under there.
On the I thought you wanted to go over on DeGrom.
I wanted to go over on DeGrom
And
and I think
under on
Yarbrough. It was 3.5, I believe.
And then I just made an executive decision. I was like, no, we're not doing that. I don't like it.
Yeah, I always tell you, you can. I mean, ultimately, you click the button, so
Yeah.
that's fair.
Well, you know. All right.
So we have Rodon tomorrow.
Yes.
So this is in theory, Rodon has been a Cy Young candidate. The way he's pitching, and the only reason he's not at this point is given what Max Fried's doing. But Rodon's been good now for a minute. And Eovaldi has been good against us. And he's pitching well this season. So something's got to give. And I like our chances because the Rangers are not scoring. A lot of the Seager's been gone for multiple weeks. He re-aggravated that hamstring, which is a bummer. But it's a benefit to the Yankees right here in the short term. You're not facing a healthy team. Simeon, the Yes broadcast was talking about what his output is. He has just disappeared. Offensively, there's just nothing there right now. So I like Rodon's chances tomorrow. I'm taking whatever his K over is, go ahead and slam it.
Yeah, so everyone he's faced 66 at-bats across all the hitters on this team, okay? They're hitting a combined 197 and a 565 OPS all time against Carlos Rodon.
Wow.
I know. It's pretty crazy, right? Now, what about Eovaldi against the Yankees? Because I know he was a Yankee, but he also pitched for the Red Sox a while, so I'm sure there's a decent amount of Yankees that have some experience against him, right? So let's see. So against the Yankees, all right, so he has 126 at-bats combined against all the players on the Yankees.
Okay.
294 batting average and a 746 OPS, which, by the way, is very good against the pitcher. Like, that's above average, as we talk about. It's not good as a singular player you would want in the 800s, but
if
against
every
a pitcher,
player's doing this, league average is
Yeah.
700, so they're better than average against this guy.
Judge hits 368 against him, 2 home runs. LeMahieu hits 320 in 50 at-bats with a home run.
So lead off DJ tomorrow? That's what you're saying?
I think they should do that.
I'm kidding, but
I think they should, though.
Okay.
And here's why. I like DJ LeMahieu's at-bats. He's making hard contact. He doesn't look like the same player in a good way. He's a righty. So when you have Grisham, you run into what we ran into today. You had brought this up. You had double lefties, Grisham Rice. And so they're able to match that up easily in the later innings. So I think in a game that's likely going to be really close, I think it would make sense to have a righty at the top, a lefty, and then Judge batting third, which would be a righty. And then Bellinger hitting fourth. Bellinger should be clean up every single lineup, and Judge should be hitting third every single lineup. The rest, I don't care what you do. But I think, I would give LeMahieu a shot at leading off.
Okay, so what picks are we going with? We're going to go the under. Overall, for the runs through 5 innings, we should take probably the under.
I am going to take the under, yes.
Okay.
Eovaldi's pitching way too well right now, so I know the Yankees have good success against him. But that is, of course, in the past. That's not necessarily predictive. You know what I mean? 7.5 strikeouts is asking a lot from Rodon.
I still think he gets it. I probably don't pick it, but I think he gets there.
But at the same time,
I think he gets 8, actually.
Yarbrough had 8. I'm going to go, okay, I'll go with Rodon. Because if Rodon did what he did today, he would have gone another inning or 2, right?
Yeah.
But because it was Yarbrough, who they're trying to, like you theorized, they're trying to limit him from seeing that third time through the lineup, he didn't go. They don't have that issue with Rodon. So I don't have to worry about length with Rodon. And like you said, the Rangers aren't exactly hitting the cover off the ball. So I'll take the Rodon over on the 7.5 strikeouts. Where's Eovaldi at the last? So, okay, the last bunch of games, we got 5, 7, 7, 8, 7, 7, 3, 4, 8, 9. And his over-under is 5.5. I'm going to stay away from that one. But I like the Rodon strikeouts with you, so I'll take that.
We're taking the Yankees to win this game, money line.
Yes, I do think
we do that every day, so go ahead and book it.
So the Yankee money line, and then I'm going to go first 5 innings. I'm going to take the under of 5.5. So I'll push this up again. It worked today, so I'll take the under of 5.5. And then
Beautiful.
total bases. That's funny. They don't even have right now, of course. You guys will have way more options in the morning. And of course, this game starts early. So you want to get on the action. Use our code YANKSU and sign up if you haven't already.
LeMahieu,
I
1.5.
love DJ LeMahieu 1.5.
Boom.
Love
Extra
it.
base hit, by the way. Opposite
Yes.
field double.
Yes.
ahead and book
I know it sounds weird, and I know it sounds flip floppy, because it's like I've been hard on LeMahieu, and he's hitting 222, and he has a 689 OPS, but so early on. But the at-bats and the exit velo, and also the launch angle, Gary. Have you noticed he's not killing bugs as much this year? He's not having. I'm not kidding you when I said every time we watched him last year, he was hitting choppers. It was hitting the infield dirt or the infield grass.
Yeah, well, Michael K said that he just looks healthy the way he's standing in the box.
I agree.
So, and if you, as a broadcaster, if you notice the difference in someone's posture, in their mannerisms, there's a difference. I promise you. So, I hope this is a matter of health as to why DJ is just performing well. I'm sure it has an impact. So, yeah, I think DJ gives us over 1.5 tomorrow. Total bases. Take the Yankees money line. We've got Rodon over. I talked Jake into the over.
I like
7.5 Ks. Rodon's going to have 8. He's going to throw 6, and I think in a third. Strike out 8 or 9. Yankees win this game. Let's go.
I like it. And then real quick, I think there was an update. So someone is saying that they called up Hedrick. Who they send down?
I have no idea. I never saw this.
I saw in the comments section. Okay, lefty Brent Hedrick is getting called up according to Brian Cootie. It just came up 2 minutes ago. Actually, it's brand new news. So,
Okay.
yeah,
So breaking.
I don't think I don't mind that. Get another lefty in there. I just want to know who they're sending down because it has to be a pitcher, Gary.
Well, they might not like Hill.
Well, what I wonder, and I mentioned earlier, I wonder if Hamilton, they'll use that option because they still have one more apparently. But the reason I said this, there's a reason, because I don't want to see that. Cruz going on the IL. That I don't want to see. That will piss me
course
off.
not.
So
But it's a shoulder, so I mean, they don't want to mess with shoulders. You see what happened with Blake Snell. Blake Snell was on the 15-day IL. They said, well, hold on a second. We'll reassess in a couple weeks. And then next thing you know, 60-day IL. Shoulder is not to be messed with, especially when you're a splitter guy. So I'm going to assume that Ed W. is correct, that this is an IL stint for Cruz.
And that's
they're just bringing
Hedrick,
up
by
some
the
depth
way.
pieces. Yeah, so a lot
So-
of red. Not a surprise. The Yankees do this
But more
every year.
importantly, he's a guy that misses bats. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, I mean,
And by the way, in the
you know.
comment section for when we leave, and not in the live chat, but in the video, drop in your favorite. We are way zoomed.
Why is it so zoomed in?
I don't know. I don't mind it, but
There we go.
drop in your favorite. He's got to be a primary right fielder. Drop in your favorite right fielder. And I said before, I think it was 2005 before. Yeah. Give me a player who played at any point before 2005 who's a primary right fielder. Can be for the Yankees or not. And I would assume he probably is. But drop us your favorite right fielder in baseball history. I think that would be a good time. We'll throw our favorite, maybe read a couple on the actual chat.
You know what my favorite is?
Your favorite right fielder? You better not say Judge.
No, it's well.
I mean, obviously it's the obvious answer.
It's Judge, but I mean, all time it would be your dad, honestly.
You know, analytics say he's the worst defensive player that's ever lived.
Dude, all right. I was gonna say this is what I feel about analytics, but we'll keep it PG on the channel.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. But I see David Justice. That's a great one. There you go.
I forgot. Yeah, okay, that's fair. I forgot. There's one thing I got to do. I don't know if I'll be able to find him. I should have highlighted him. It was so funny, and I totally forgot.
Oh, it's someone in the comments?
Yeah, before we leave. You'll get a kick out of it if I can find it, of course. That is the question. Can I find it? Looking. You said it was so funny.
Jake's just scrolling right now.
There's so many comments.
Yeah,
well,
I'm not doing you any favors. I was like, drop us your favorite right fielders. Everyone's like, Sean Green, Paul O'Neill, and it's just making Jake's job impossible.
Oh, my God.
So keep up the great work, guys.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
And, of course, like this video so it can help us with the algorithm, because liking the video, I have no idea why it makes an impact, but all right.
You can't use the I was looking for like the find thing on the browser, and apparently YouTube and StreamYard don't allow you to use find. So like I put it in and it still won't come up. It was your favorite account. It was Cheeks. When you
Cheeks
said
is easily my favorite account on here.
Yeah, and you said something about Colorado being butt cheeks, and he's like, I heard Cheeks, what's up?
Oh my God, no way.
Yes, I gotta find it.
So as you can see, men just never mature, and my wife would agree. So yeah.
I have to find it.
Farting is still funny. Cheeks are funny. Roger Maris.
What
These are
about
some great answers? But I'm gonna read all of them, and I'll be responding. I mean, I read the comment section every night.
Yeah.
So I want to see some really solid right field choices. I saw Darryl Strawberry earlier. It's another great choice.
It's gone. I'm sorry.
All for naught.
There's no way I'm gonna find it. It's toast. I'm like,
yeah. Well, anyways, anything else, Jake?
No. I mean that's gonna do it. I really appreciate everybody showing up. We had close to 400 concurrent viewers, and it's past midnight on the East Coast. So,
let's go. I'm dropping it. I'm gonna leave him on the screen. Welcome back, Cheeks. That is a done deal.
That is amazing. Literally, I feel like he has some sort of like sixth sense where it's like you say Cheeks, like, oh, I'm here. Like,
sometimes you make a creative name, and obviously the Avi brings it home.
Oh yeah,
it's just great work. So well done. We appreciate all the super chatters that happened throughout this show, specifically tonight. And yeah, guys, we're here after midnight. So thank you guys for joining in. Obviously, like the video, subscribe if you're new here. And if you are new, feel free to get active, and get involved in the chat. And we have quite the community here. We stand Cheeks over here. Fully agree, Alex.
Oh, see, we need more of this on the internet.
Well, you don't think there's a lot of positivity on the internet?
No, normally Anon accounts are terrible, and they hate everybody, and they use their anonymous status as like a cover up. They can say whatever they want. Cheeks, on the other hand, is like, love y'all. It's like, wow, you definitely don't have a Twitter. Anyway, you guys take care. We'll see you tomorrow. Yankees at 12:35. God knows why. It's definitely not my fault. I can tell you that much. I definitely wouldn't have booked it at that time. But yeah, like the video.
Yeah.